Part 54. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Luke Ixie. Chapter 531. Chapter 531 Pregnant woman bumps into Ye Weiwei. Suhui answered the call and hurriedly pressed the loudspeaker button. Yahantian's voice was particularly abrupt in this quiet room. Yahantian said Hui but angered Madame Ye, who was present. When she saw Suhui's face, Mrs. Ye was shocked and in disbelief at first, but then she calmed down and thought about it, and then combined with this title, the answer was clearly before her eyes. Mrs. Ye walked over on the spot and snatched Suhui's cell phone. She sneered into the phone and said, "Okay Yahantian, I didn't expect that you are still thinking about that woman from before. You are still thinking about finding a substitute." Mrs. Ye cursed bitterly and forcibly hung up the phone. Suhui wanted to reach out to grab the phone, but Mrs. Ye reached out to my side and pushed her away. Suhui bumped into the bed, but fortunately her stomach was not hurt. Mrs. Ye saw her wholeheartedly protecting the child and felt no pity in her heart. Originally, she had no intention of keeping that bastard, but now that she saw Suhui's face and knew that name, Madame Ye felt in danger. If Suhui is allowed to give birth to the child, whether it is a boy or a girl, it is very likely that Yezikin will take away his position in Yahantian. Mrs. Ye will never allow this to happen. Doctor, continue to arrange the operation for her, do it now. As soon as Madame Ye gave the order, a doctor walked in and grabbed Suhui by force. Suhui struggled and made a noise, but Madame Ye told her to shut up with just one word. "If you make any more noise, I'll punch you in the stomach. You can try it." Suhui didn't dare to risk her child, so she had to keep her mouth shut even if she was unwilling to do so. Suhui struggled hard, but she was worried about the child, so she didn't dare to move too much. Suhui kept lowering her attitude and begging for mercy. "Mrs. Ye, please let me go. I never thought about getting anything. I only care about my children." "Madame Ye, you are also a person with children. You know how to be a mother mood, please let my child go." Madame Ye sneered and said, "If I let you go, who will treat me well?" The who here clearly means something, and it represents Yahantian. She and Yahantian couldn't be a loving couple now, so it didn't matter if they were enemies and held grudges for the rest of their lives. Madame Ye glanced at Suhui and gave a cold order, "Take her away." Just when they were about to pull Suhui out, Yezikin suddenly opened the door and barged in. As soon as Madame Ye saw Yezikin, her expression changed instantly. "Chenur, why are you here?" "Mom, please stop what you are doing immediately." "Do you know what you are talking about?" Madame Ye narrowed her eyes slightly, unable to believe that these words came from her son's mouth. Suhui took advantage of the opportunity and started crying when she heard Yezikin plead for her, "Master Ye, please help me. I really don't want to destroy your family. I just want my child. If you think it's an eyesore, I can take the child with you inside, promise never to come back." These remarks were already made by Suhui. She didn't actually covet the position of Mrs. Ye's family, but she thought that mother was more valuable than son. If she could get Yahantian's favor and he would have a son and a half left, she would have nothing to worry about in the next life. "I just didn't expect it to be discovered so quickly." Yezikin gave her a cold look and didn't take those words to heart. Yezikin approached Madame Ye and whispered a few words in her ear. Madame Ye had a solemn expression and was obviously hesitant. Suhui saw how relaxed they all were, so she broke away from them and ran outside. Ouch! But he didn't want to bump into Ye Wei, who was standing at the door. End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Luke Ixie. Chapter 532. Chapter 532 Is this my mother? The only time I saw that woman that night, I almost blurted out and called Mom, but she held it back. This woman's appearance and eyebrows are very similar to hers. To be precise, she is very similar to her mother. Ye Wei subconsciously reached out to help her. Suhui took the opportunity to run away, but Ye Wei grabbed her arm. Suhui said in a panic, "Miss, please help me, the people inside are trying to harm my child." She was mumbling on purpose so that people around her could hear her, but she didn't know that Yezikin had deliberately cleared the area when she first arrived. And Yezii is not her savior. Yahweh grabbed Suhui's arm to prevent her from leaving, and said her name clearly, "Are you Suhui?" As soon as Suhui heard that this strange girl called out her name, she turned around and saw Mrsye standing at the door with a sneer, and her face turned pale with fright. You are in the same group." Suhui looked at Yewei in disbelief. Unexpectedly, such a beautiful girl was also acquainted with Yejia and was not her savior. Suhui couldn't run away, so those people pretending to be doctors pulled her back. A group of people were standing in the house, and the door was locked. "Chiao Li, how do you feel when you see this woman named Suhui?" Mrsye didn't think Yewei would be happy to see a woman who looked like her mother pregnant with Yehantian's child. She asked Yewei this question just to cause trouble for her. Indeed, Yewei felt panicked. "I feel disgusting." She was indeed shocked when she saw Suhui's face, but she felt particularly uncomfortable when she heard Suhui's tone of begging for mercy. Mrsye was obviously satisfied with her answer. "At any rate, you have been with me for 7 years. It is rare that we have a common view on this matter." Mrsye raised her hand and lifted Suhui's chin, looked left and right, and clicked her tongue twice. "Look at Suhui, it's like seeing the exact replica of your mother." Yewei frowned and emphasized in a serious tone, "Mrsye, please don't compare this kind of woman to my mother. Her mother would not be such a mean woman." Mrsye scratched Suhui's chin hard. Suhui said ah but couldn't resist. Madam Ye turned to look at Yi. "Can't you mention it? It's your mother's coquettish attitude that seduces men, why can't you mention it?" Sure enough, Madam Ye still placed her deepest resentment on Huaqianhui, and started sarcastic before even saying a few nice words. "My mother is not the kind of person you say, Madam Ye. I only politely call you Madam Ye because of my 7-year friendship. But you have humiliated my mother again and again. You are also challenging me. The bottom line. No one can endure others humiliating their mother, especially when her mother has passed away. Having been insulted like this, I'm afraid I won't be able to rest in peace after death." Yezikin stretched out his hand to cover Yeyi's ears, and stopped him dissatisfiedly. "Mom, please stop saying a few words. Chenur, come here. You have to help that bitch, don't you? Who is hurt now? Ah. It's me, I was betrayed, they were the ones who united to bully me, you should help me, I am your biological mother." "But mother, you are slandering a good man." Madam Ye snorted, "I'm telling the truth." "Shut up." As soon as he finished speaking, Yehantian suddenly burst into the ward. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lukixi. Chapter 533. Chapter 533 Madame Yespain. The appearance of Yehantian completely silenced the scene. Suhui was asking for help. Yehantian was the first to look at her, but the one he cared about the most was Yewei. No one expected that when Yehantian entered the venue, he first called Yewei's name. No one could understand what Yehantian meant. Yewei stared at him for about 3 seconds, then looked away and stared at Yezikin's hand, feeling even more panicked. "Xiao Li, don't pay attention to those words, your mother is a good woman." "Mr. Ye, I know very well what kind of person my mother is, but this has nothing to do with you." Yewei couldn't figure it out. Yehantian was a smart and wise businessman after all, but why he was so weak here? Knowing that Mrsya was jealous of her mother, she still praised her mother in front of two women. Her mother should indeed be praised, but it should not be done by Yehantian at this time. Suhwei, who was pushed aside, listened a lot in the fog and had a rough guess in her mind. It seems that she looks similar to the mother of the girl named Jiaoling, and the person Yehantian really likes is actually Jiaoling's mother? Treating her Suhwei as a substitute from beginning to end? This kind of thing is unacceptable to many women, including Suhwei. But Suhwei is not a woman who focuses on emotions. She reacted quickly and cried to Yehantian, "Hantian, save me, save our child, I want to protect him." Hearing Suhui's cry, Yehantian finally remembered that he had a mistress who was pregnant at the moment. Yehantian straightened his back and ordered in a cold voice, "Relax." The fake doctors hesitated. But as soon as Yehantian's situation became apparent, those who knew his identity had no choice but to loosen their books. As soon as Suhwei got free, she ran to Yehantian and grabbed his arm tightly. "Please take me away quickly. They want to harm my child. This is our child." Yehantian was almost addicted when he saw Suhui's face. He also patted Suhui on the back to calm her down. "You are a pregnant woman. You should keep a good mood and don't be too anxious. Don't worry, I'm here. No one dares to touch your child." Yehantian's words gave Suhui some reassurance. Suhui hid beside Yehantian, not daring to raise her head, pretending to be frightened. Yehantian was protecting Suhui and was about to leave, but Mrsya blocked the door angrily. "Everyone needs to speak clearly here today, otherwise no one will be able to leave." Yehantian was very dissatisfied and said, "What else do you want to do? Didn't I tell you that the child in Huier's belly is a girl, so it does not pose a threat to your position as the matron of the house or your son's inheritance?" In Yehantian's eyes, all the ridiculous things Mrsya did were to protect her status as the mistress of the family and her son's status as the sole heir. Mrsya was angry and sad. But her identity and pride did not allow her to bow her head. She then followed Yehantian's words and admitted, "Yes, I will never allow the factors that affect me and my son to survive in the world." Mrsya raised her chin high, held back the red circles in her eyes, and said sternly, "Unless the child dies here today, no one can leave." Amway's green plum in hand, Bamboo Horse Without Worry is super sweet. The male and female protagonists have no misunderstanding, it is sweet from beginning to end. The bamboo horse is not enough, addicted to flirting with green plums. The female protagonist is soft and smart, and the male protagonist is ruffian and handsome. Cute Baby 1v1, Cold Husband, Take the Move is a story about cute baby, but it goes against the grain. The heroine takes her son with her, and the son has the hero's surname since he was a child. Suddenly I felt that Mrsya was quite pitiful. She was persistent and unwilling to give in, and her pride did not allow her to bow her head. End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lukixi. Chapter 534. Chapter 534 Disapproval of Keeping Children. If you continue to be so unreasonable, let's get a divorce. You dare in the cold night. Xiao Li, you also want this child to stay, right? Yehantian was asking Yeyi, but his eyes seemed to be looking at another woman through Yeyi's eyes. Yewi I only hesitated for a moment before speaking. "I don't agree with keeping that child." While the Ye family was quarreling, Ye Wei walked up to Suhui with firm eyes. No one expected that she would make such an unexpected move. Mrsya looked at her strangely, and even Yehantian looked at her with incomprehensible eyes. "Xiaoling, you have to know that after this child is born, he will be like your biological sister, and you will have the same beauty." Yehantian seemed to be possessed by a demon, and actually said such words. It was obvious that Yehantian thought that Suhui's child would follow his mother, which meant that he would look similar to Huaqianhui. Suhui protected her stomach and was dissatisfied that a little girl had the ability to point fingers here. So she angrily retorted and asked, "What qualifications do you have to say this?" However, Ye Wei didn't need to do anything to her at all. Since Ye Hantian asked Ye Wei's opinion when she first walked in, she is qualified to say no here. This matter has nothing to do with me, but if that is the reason for her birth, I cannot accept it. The birth of that child was not blessed by anyone, and was disgusted by many people. Hearing Ye Wei's words, Ye Hantian snorted coldly, and his eyes softened as he looked at her. "Xiaoling, it's too early for you to say this now. You will like your sister when she is born." "Are you crazy? What did you say about her sister? Even the birth of Su Hui's child has nothing to do with her. She now knows that Ye Hantian's thoughts are really disgusting, right? Su Hui regards her as her mother Huaqian Hui, right? Xiaoling, don't you think her having the same appearance as your mother is a blessing from God? When you look at her, don't you think of your mother? With her here, it's like seeing your mother still living in this world," Ye Hantian said, as if he was lost in his own imagination, a little drunk. Ye Wei shook his head and retorted sternly, "Mr. Ye, you have to see clearly, that woman's name is Su Hui, but she has nothing to do with my mother. What you want to do has nothing to do with me." She really couldn't bear to listen, and Ye Hantian's words and actions were unacceptable to her. Mrs. Ye always seizes the opportunity to insult her mother. It's all Huaqian Hui's fault. Even if she dies, she will be blamed. Mrs. Ye's words stimulated Ye Wei. She couldn't help but yelled out, "That's enough. My mother is no longer alive, but she is always hurt by you again and again. She is so beautiful and kind. When will you and your Ye family finally let her go?" Ye Wei finished shouting angrily, pushed open the door and ran out. God did not act, and it rained heavily all night long. The cool breeze at night is chilly to the heart. Ye Wei knelt down in front of Huaqian Hui's mausoleum and sobbed. The rain became louder and he cried heartbreakingly. Why? Why did they do that when they obviously did nothing wrong? Even death makes you uneasy. Mom, I'm sorry, Xylee still can't protect you well. Tears welled up in my eyes, but the raindrops suddenly stopped. She slowly raised her head, a big umbrella covered her head, and they knelt in front of the tombstone with her. If this person is not Brother Chen. End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 535. Chapter 535. Don't go back to him. She thought it would always be Yezikin standing behind her, but this time it was Pei Yuchen who knelt with her in front of the tombstone. The only surprise in the night was just for a moment. She slowly moved her gaze back and looked at the tombstone, her eyes tender and full of nostalgia. She said, "My mother is the most beautiful and kind-hearted woman in the world." "I know." Pei Yuchen quietly held an umbrella for her and stayed with her. Ye Wei's mood has gradually stabilized. She neither yelled nor cried. She could only hear the sound of raindrops falling from the sky. I don't know how long it took, but Ye Wei bowed to the grave and said, "Mom, I'm sorry, Xiaolian disturbed your rest again." Pei Yuchen said, "Your mother will be really sad when she knows that you have been wronged." This other kind of comfort made Ye Wei finally willing to show a slight smile, but it soon disappeared. "You're right. Let's go." The two stood up together. Pei Yuchen suddenly handed her the umbrella, but when she took the umbrella, he took off his coat and said, "Miss, please take off your coat." Ye Wei refused. "Thank you for your kindness, no need." Her refusal without hesitation left Pei Yuchen speechless. Pei Yuchen took back the umbrella and still held it for her, controlling the position very carefully. Even if his shoulders were soaked by the slanting rain, he tried his best not to let her get wet. But none of them knew that after they left the cemetery, a tall figure walked to Huaqian Hui's tombstone, knelt down with straight legs, and kowtowed 3 times sincerely. He looked at the tombstone with a determined expression. "And Hui, I will take care of Xylee forever. I got caught in the rain and unfortunately caught a cold and a runny nose. The cold medicine Pei Yuchen gave her as a backup did not work. Miss, why don't I take you to the hospital for a checkup?" "No." Ye Wei shook his head and just wanted to hide in bed. It turned out that Mr. Chiao was worried about her and left Pei Yuchen here, so when he was at the cemetery last night, Pei Yuchen showed up in time with an umbrella. She didn't want to go home, so Pei Yuchen could only take her to the hotel. She also sent Yezikin a text message to report that she was safe. She didn't mean to lose her temper, but she just couldn't face it. It turns out that the relationship between parents and children is really inseparable. No matter how good the relationship between Yezikin and her was, there would still be a estrangement because of their parents. She didn't want to do this, and she didn't want to retaliate against Yezikin for her complaints against the Ye family, so she chose to escape and hide carefully. She didn't want to go to the hospital, so she took the medicine and went to bed. She didn't expect to have a fever. Pei Yuchen couldn't do anything to her, so he directly invited a doctor to see her. The doctor gave Ye Wei an injection. She looked in great pain as she covered her arm. Pei Yuchen saw her biting her lip and frowning. He hesitated for a while and said, "Miss, if you feel pain, you can tell me." Wei shook his head and remained silent. When the doctor left, Ye Wei suddenly told Pei Yuchen, "I want to go home." The home she mentioned refers to Yezikin's apartment. But Pei Yuchen, who had previously taken care of everything, became silent. "Assistant Pei, I'm going home, thank you very much for everything yesterday and today." Just when Ye Wei got out of bed and was about to walk out of the door, Pei Yuchen suddenly reached out to stop her. "Miss, I hope you won't come back to the Ye family again. I already said that the one holding the umbrella is not Brother Chen." End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 536. Chapter 536. Brother, it hurts me very much. If he really cared about you, he wouldn't have let you run out of the hospital alone until you had a cold or fever. That must be because he has something to do and can't come. Miss, do you really believe that person? The Ye family is your enemy. Ye Wei never expected that Pei Yuchen would actually stop him. She reiterated her statement emphatically, "I have already said that the affairs of the Ye family and Yezikin are two different things." Ye Wei's attitude was very firm. "Assistant Pei, I am very grateful to you, but I have my own decision." She has always believed in Yezikin and has never doubted that person. Pei Yuchen could not influence her decision and could only obey. "Miss, you are still sick, let me take you there." "No." Ye Wei shook her head. In fact, it was easy to find that she was not in good spirits. Opening the door and going out, the person standing outside the door startled her. Elder brother. Who would have thought that the man who was questioned just now as not caring about her would be standing at the door right now? Ye Wei happened to be standing in front of him, and Yezikin took the opportunity to hug him into his arms. His big, gentle, and thick palm pressed against her forehead, feeling an unusually warm temperature. She wanted to scold her but couldn't. Finally, he sighed softly above her head, "I just let you leave for a day and ended up like this. Brother, I got an injection and it hurts a lot." When she saw Yezikin, she told her all her grievances at once. Pei Yuchen really witnessed everything from behind and heard everything clearly. "I realized that Ye Wei was not that strong and stubborn, it was just that her dependence was only on one person." Yezikin held Ye Wei in his arms and said to Pei Yuchen, who was standing in the room, "Thank you. No, it's my duty to take care of the lady." Pei Yuchen, who had always been deep and reserved, suddenly felt like quarreling. but Yezikin still took Ye Wei away. Pei Yuchen stood at the door and could hear Ye Wei's naturally aggrieved and coquettish tone when he dragged Yezikin. Yezikin's car was parked under the hotel. Ye Wei felt angry. I didn't even tell you where I was, how could you know? If I want to find you, I will naturally know. Brother, it's a coincidence that you came here. I was just about to go back to find you. Ye was the only one who conveyed the truth in an understatement. He did not tell Ye Wei that he was downstairs last night and did not leave until she sent a text message to report that she was safe. He didn't close his eyes all night and accidentally saw Pei Yuchen coming down and ushering in a doctor carrying a medical box. He panicked and waited at the door for the doctor to come out and asked about Ye Wei's physical condition. I'll take you to a night bar. Why? I still have some things to deal with, and I don't feel comfortable leaving you alone in the apartment. Gong Qinli and Nanggong Luo's friends are not here now, and even Gu Jinxi is on a business trip. If he goes to the bar, there will be so many people watching. If anything happens, he can be notified in time. There was almost no one in the bar that day, it was very quiet, and it would not disturb her while she was resting. Oh, Ye Wei did not refute. Because she was sick, she fell asleep in the car again. When the bar manager Zhao discovered that Yezikin was holding a woman in his arms, he was amazed. Then he saw that the woman was Ye Wei, and he had a feeling of unsurprisingly. Len Yangzi, who was wearing cleaning clothes, just came out and said, "Supervisor, I have already cleaned Miss Jiao's room. It is really a blessing to have someone you trust and rely on wholeheartedly." But precisely because Xiao Lingdang now trusts Yezikin without hesitation, when the hidden things are revealed, the consequences will also be heavy. End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 537. Chapter 537 The Woman in His Arms. As soon as Len Yangzi finished speaking, she saw Yezikin standing 2 meters away from her. Just as she showed a happy expression, she discovered that Yezikin was holding a girl in his arms. "Master Ye," she called out, but Yezikin frowned and walked away from her. Manager Zhao quickly pulled her and said, "Shh, keep your voice down. Didn't you see young Master Ye holding someone in his arms?" He was sure that Yezikin's frown just now was because he felt that Len Yangzi's sudden voice was unnecessary and had woken up the little ancestor. It took Len Yangzi a long time to come to her senses. "Director Zhao, who is the person in Master Ye's arms?" "Who else could it be, the owner of the room you just cleaned?" The room she just cleaned was Jiao Ling's room, wasn't it? Len Yangzi suddenly remembered what Manager Zhao told her that day, Yezikin's things belong to Jiao Li. "I see. So Miss Jiao Ling is Master Ye's girlfriend?" Len Yangzi asked without hope. Manager Zhao shook his head. "It's not such a relationship, but it's very complicated and I can't explain it clearly. Because everyone only heard Ye Wei call Yezikin brother, and it was true that the relationship between brother and sister was revealed at first. Everyone knew vaguely about the subsequent changes, but they didn't dare to delve into it, so Manager Zhao didn't know either, but now he is legitimate boy-girlfriend relationship." But when Len Yangzi got the negative answer, she felt a little happy. Not long after, Yezikin came out of the room. He told Manager Zhao, "Have someone come in every half hour to check on her and don't wake her up." "Okay, don't worry about me doing my job." Yezikin left only after Director Zhao made a solemn promise. Manager Zhao is a man, so he can't just barge in, so he has to call a girl. Looking around, isn't Len Yangzi the most suitable candidate? "You have heard what Mr. Ye just said. Now count the time and go in every half hour to see if there is anything special about Miss Jiao. Remember not to disturb her." "Okay, I remember, Director Zhao." Len Yangzi started counting the time from now on, and when 29 minutes came, she walked in carefully. "Last time, because I accidentally splashed water on Ye Wei, I didn't dare to stare at her. Now that Ye Wei is asleep, Len Yangzi dares to take a closer look. She found that Ye Wei didn't wear makeup at all, and her skin was so good without makeup, and there were no spots on her face. It can really be described with the words white, tender, and flawless. Len Yangzi envied Ye Wei very much, because she felt that Ye Wei was good looking, had a good personality, and had such a good family background. She was also loved and cared for by an outstanding man like Yezikin. She was really a favorite child of God. Len Yangzi squatted beside her, lost in thought. Knowing that Director Zhao had not waited for someone to come out to report the situation, he made a sound at the door. "What's the matter with you? You've been looking at someone for so long." "I'm sorry, to be honest, Miss Jiao is so good looking, we are all ashamed of herself." "Really? Are you stunned?" "Miss Jiao is good looking, but she is not something we can imagine. Although you are also a woman, you must also pay attention to your words and deeds." "Okay, I remember." Another half an hour passed, and Len Yangzi went in at the right time. Repeat this for 2 hours. Ye Wei didn't sleep well last night, so he felt sleepy today and fell into a deep sleep. When she entered for the 6th or 7th time, Len Yangzi planned to take a quick look and leave, but she found that Ye Wei had sweat on her forehead. End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 538. Chapter 538. The needle pierced her blood vessel. Len Yangzi hurriedly called for Manager Zhao. When Manager Zhao saw Ye Wei breaking into a cold sweat, she was frightened and said, "Oh, please contact Mr. Ye quickly." "No, don't call my brother." Ye Wei opened his eyes and sat up, putting the back of his hand on his forehead and said, "Just call the doctor, I just have a cold." Yezikin must have something important to do, so he couldn't stay with her. If he called her now, it would definitely interfere with his affairs again. Manager Zhao had no choice but to listen and quickly found a doctor. "Injections are not possible right now, so give her an infusion directly." The sharp needle pierced the blood vessel. Ye Wei narrowed his eyes tightly and gritted his teeth not to cry out the pain. Manager Zhao arranged for Len Yangzi to stay with her, "Take care of her carefully and let me know if anything happens." Len Yangzi stood next to Ye Wei. "The infusion process is very long." Ye Wei saw her standing all the time and gave her a kind smile. "Sit down, you will get tired if you stand all the time." Len Yangzi was very grateful for Ye Wei's understanding. "Thank you, Miss Jiao. Don't be so formal, we are just the same age." She is even more likely to be younger than Len Yangzi. "Ms. Jiao, how long have you had a cold and fever?" "Well, I accidentally got caught in the rain last night, and that's it for today." Hearing what Ye Wei said, Len Yangzi was amazed. "Oh my God, is it so easy? No wonder, you city people are more delicate. It's okay to work in the rain when we are mowing grass in the countryside. We just need to exercise more, all right." Len Yangzi didn't have any special thoughts when she said this, and Ye Wei could tell that she had no ill intentions. Just follow Len Yangzi's words and thank her for her concern. "Thank you, maybe it's my physical condition." Actually, Ye Wei didn't tell her that the amount of exercise she did was more than what she said she was doing. Although she is not learning grappling from Master Shirley now, she must practice unremittingly to become more proficient. She rarely gets sick, but when she does she is more troublesome. "You have always said that you are from a rural area. Are you comfortable working here alone?" "Fortunately, Director Zhao takes good care of me. I never thought that I would be so lucky that I could clean Miss Jiao's room and earn a lot of money. I believe that I will be able to take my grandma over to live with her in the near future." "You have a grandma?" "Yes, but grandma is alone in the countryside now. I am very worried and can only do my best to make money." "Alone? Are you and your grandma living together?" "My father died early and my mother left too, so it was just my grandma and I." Hearing Len Yangzi say grandma, Ye Wei felt very uncomfortable. She lowered her eyes and said in a low voice, "It's really not good to leave the old man alone." Len Yangzi shook her head, "But there's nothing I can do about it. I'm still living in a dormitory now and don't have that much money to rent a house." Ye Wei suddenly asked her, "If you had a house, would you take your grandma over?" Len Yangzi nodded without hesitation, "Of course. I'm working so hard now just to make grandma happy. I can help you." Yes, only move was unexpected. "I can lend you money first so that you can take your grandma over. The old man needs care and companionship." "Miss Jiao, are you serious?" "Certainly. I do, I do." Len Yangzi was very happy. "Miss Jiao, you are such a kind person, you deserve to be Master Ye's sister." "Oh, do you think I am his sister?" End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lukixi. Chapter 539. Chapter 539. I am his girlfriend. Isn't it? I heard Miss Jiao calling you young master Ye, brother. It's just a title, I'm not his sister. Yes, only attention was diverted, and she looked happy. Len Yangzi couldn't control her curiosity and asked, "Then you?" Ye Wei made the relationship known to the public without any secret. "I am his girlfriend. I'm his girlfriend." When you say the sentence, you should look confident and have affection in your eyes. Len Yangzi's curiosity was instantly suppressed, and she couldn't even speak. Ye Wei carefully observed Len Yangzi's expression. "Why, you look like you have a hard time accepting it." Len Yangzi suddenly came to her senses. "Oh, it's because I heard Miss Jiao that you misunderstood the title of Master Ye before, and Director Zhao denied that you are a couple, so I was surprised for a moment." "There's nothing surprising." A slight smile appeared on her face. Len Yangzi suddenly stood up and made an excuse to pour water. "The only thing that doesn't stop me is night." When Len Yangzi turned around to get the cup, Ye Wei stared at her back with a scrutinizing gaze. The girl's intuition is very accurate. She sensed that something was wrong with Len Yangzi from the very beginning. However, this Len Yangzi will not hide her thoughts at all. It is too easy to reveal her flaws, and just a few words can defeat her. It is really boring. Ye Wei kept true to his word and immediately contacted someone to help find a house at a suitable price. After finishing the intravenous drip, she leaned against the sofa and fell asleep. Len Yangzi sat far away from her and sighed. As expected, everything was just her wishful thinking. Young Master Ye would never fall in love with her, an ordinary rural girl, as Director Zhao said. The door to the room was suddenly opened. Len Yangzi looked up and stood up immediately. "Night." She had just spoken a word when she saw Yezikin put up his index finger to his lips, and the gesture of silence was so tempting by him. That person is born to be looked up to. Len Yangzi lowered her head silently, not daring to make any noise. Yezikin walked quietly to the sofa, bent down and put his hand close to Ye Wei's forehead. He gently lifted a strand of hair from his forehead to his ear. His gentle movements did not disturb him at all. Anyone who witnessed the scene could feel how much Yezikin cared about the girl. It's like holding a unique treasure in your hands and protecting it carefully. Len Yangzi felt sour in her heart, but she was very self-aware and could only stand back and watch silently. "The only time of night I slowly wake up." She opened her eyes and saw the familiar face, thinking she was dreaming. "Close your eyes, your vision is all dark, and the person you want to see is gone." She opened her eyes suddenly and found that Yezikin was still there, and he really appeared in front of her. "Elder brother. It's me. Why did you show up? I thought I was dreaming." "If I hadn't called to ask Director Zhao, you still wouldn't tell me your physical condition, right?" Yezikin asked, then looked down at Ye Wei's hands that had just pulled out the needles, and asked, "Does your hand hurt?" Ye Wei became squeamish in an instant. It hurts. Len Yangzi was amazed when she saw Ye Wei's actions. Len Yangzi couldn't help but glance at Ye Wei a few more times. During the infusion just now, not a single sound was made. Now it's been a long time since the infusion and you're still showing such pain? So she was, deliberately pretending to show Yezikin? Thanks to Yanyan for the lovely reward. Haha, looking for the psychological shadow area of the female supporting role. End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lukixi. Chapter 540. Chapter 540, Leave the child behind. My forehead is still a little hot, I'll take you back first. Are you in a hurry to go back? It won't be long before the quarrel starts at the wine shop, and you can't stay here. Yezikin's care for Ye was really meticulous. Len Yangzi, who was ignored, stood aside silently and sighed in her heart. Suddenly I heard Ye Wei mention, well, I just said that I would help Miss Leng find a rental house. Really, you still have such leisurely elegance. I heard that her grandma lived alone in the country, and I felt very distressed, so I helped her out. Grandma. Yezikin was very repelled when this relationship was mentioned again. That's someone else's family background and has nothing to do with you. He frowned slightly and didn't want to talk more. Even the meaning he expressed seemed cold and callous. Len Yangzi was shocked, but she always felt that Yezikin was a gentle person at heart, otherwise she would not have taken money to save her grandma in the hospital. But at this moment, I was very grateful when I heard that Ye Wei insisted on helping her. Len Yangzi breathed out, walked forward, and bowed to Chang Yue. Thank you, Miss Jiao. If it's troublesome, forget it. It's okay, I won't break my promise if I promise to help. But Master Ye. Len Yangzi glanced at Yezikin briefly. But seeing Yezikin still staring at Ye Wei intently, as if everything else was nothing to him. Ye Wei tugged Yezikin's hand, and Yezikin finally nodded. He stroked Ye Wei's hair, looking helpless but doting on him. What else is there to be dissatisfied about, huh? No, 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 brother, let's go. She lifted the blanket on the sofa, lowered her feet, and bent over to find her shoes. Hey, where are my shoes? Here they are. Len Yangzi quickly picked up the pair of snow boots next to the sofa. Director Zhao and the doctor were competing here just now, so I put the shoes next to them. Len Yangzi explained briefly and put her shoes at Ye Wei's feet. At the same time, the other hand has reached out to pick up a shoe. Len Yangzi was so shocked that she couldn't speak. Because she saw with her own eyes the noble, cold, and arrogant Yezikin squatting on one knee, holding the shoe in his right hand and controlling Ye Wei's small foot with his left hand. Her put on her shoes gently and carefully. Yezikin's movements were very familiar, and Ye Wei was not surprised at all. Apparently this gesture had happened more than once. It's so shocking. Len Yangzi didn't react until Yezikin and Ye Wei left together. She suddenly remembered that there seemed to be a man and a woman in the hospital last time. Since the man was Yezikin, it was very possible that the woman was Miss Jiaoling. Len Yangzi is extremely envious of Ye Wei now. Everything is good, and my heart is kind. On the way out of the bar, Ye Wei asked something that had been on his mind for a long time. Brother, has that matter been resolved? Yezikin hesitated for a moment and said euphemistically, I underestimated my father's determination to keep Suhui's child. It means that Ye Hantian has not wavered in his mind so far, and he is determined to keep the child. It's really unreasonable. Ye Wei scratched his hair irritably. Suhui's face similar to his mother's appeared in his mind, and he felt very uncomfortable. At this moment, Madame Ye suddenly contacted Yezikin. The first thing he said was, Chenur, let's keep that woman's child for now. End of this chapter.